Hello everyone, welcome to the next biology video. So today we're going to be looking at the digestive system and an introduction to enzymes, and then there'll be another video with the specifics of enzymes as well. This is suitable for triple and combined, it comes up in both, so everyone can watch this. So let's get into it. So our first thing is we need to know the parts of the digestive system. So probably a good idea at this stage to pause the video and have a go and see if you know the labels for these parts of the digestive system. Right, hopefully you've had a little go. So all of these labels, we have to know them all. So let's have a look and see how many you got right. So we've got the mouth up here with the salivary glands, one under the tongue and one up there above the tongue. Okay, we've got our tube that brings the food to the stomach, that's called our esophagus. Then we've got our stomach here. This is like an elastic bag which churns up the food. We then go into the small intestine and that follows round all the way around here, and then we get to the large intestine and then all the way around to the anus here. So you'll notice that where the food goes is actually one continuous tube, if you like. Okay, the food does not leave this canal at all. It stays in here. You can tell I was never any good at colouring in, can't you? It stays within this canal all the way round and all the way out. And the reason I say that is because I had a couple of people the other day that asked about the pancreas and the food going through the pancreas. Okay, the food stays in this canal. Now this is called, I'll put it up here, alimentary canal, basically the food canal. Now we do have the pancreas involved in digestion, as we do the gallbladder, but the food does not go through them, but they will secrete or empty things into the small intestine. So if you see the gallbladder here, that will empty its bile into the small intestine. We'll talk a bit more about bile in a minute. And the pancreas, like this feather shaped, that will empty enzymes into there. The stomach will also make acid, which it empties into there. But it goes through one long canal. Now, we get this top bit here, so all the way, let's get my pen in the right place. Where's my pen? There it is. So all of this bit here is digestion. And then the small and large intestine, excuse me, are absorption. So we're absorbing the food that we need. And any waste leaving the anus, now a lot of people think it's excretion, and I'm not surprised because they even use that word on the news. That is not the case. The process is defecation, and we are getting rid of feces. So feces is the poo and the process is defecation. And all the way up here, the food going into the mouth, ingestion, because we're taking it in, ingestion. Right, so these might be, some of these might be new words for you. Alimentary canal, although they wouldn't ask you to write it, they might put it in a question. So if they say alimentary canal, you're going to go, oh, well, that's where all the food goes. Okay, now when we take in the food, it's generally in long chain molecules. So we need to look the food we take in and what happens to it as it comes in. So on the next slide, we've got these enzymes, excuse me. So generally, if we eat starch, which is here, it's too big for us to absorb into our bloodstream. Proteins, too big for us to absorb into our bloodstream. Fats, too big for us to absorb into our bloodstream. We can only absorb single molecules, okay? So it's essential that these are broken down into these smaller units. So carbohydrates are broken down into glucose. Proteins are broken down into amino acids. And fats are broken down into fatty acids and glycerol. So it is the glucose, the amino acids, and the fatty acids and glycerol that we need to absorb to go to our cells for respiration, and to keep us healthy and to make sure we have enough energy. So each one of these has a specific enzyme, and that enzyme is produced in a specific place. So let's go one at a time. Let's look at amylase. So amylase is the name of the enzyme. All enzymes for GCSE will end in A's. So even if it's one you're not familiar with, if it ends in A's, it will be an enzyme. And they will change carbohydrates like potatoes, rice, pasta to sugars for us, or to glucose. Now, where does this happen? So amylase is produced or made in the salivary glands and the pancreas. So there's two places where carbohydrates are going to be broken down. And the salivary glands obviously secrete the saliva into the mouth. That's got amylase in it. The pancreas produces amylase, but remember me saying the food doesn't go through the pancreas, so the pancreas secretes it or releases it into the small intestine. Okay, so it's made in the pancreas and then released into the small intestine. Okay, right, next one. Protein is broken down by protease. So if you look again, it ends in A's. And where does this happen? Okay, so proteins to amino acids produced in stomach, pancreas, small intestine. Okay, so actually there's a mistake on here. I'm going to get rid of that one and that one, because that's not for GCSE. So produced in the stomach, and it provides, what happens in the stomach in a minute, but it provides, the stomach provides acid, but the stomach also provides proteases. So protease is the enzyme, and it will break down these large insoluble proteins into small amino acids. Okay, one more. Just move my face out the way because it's probably in the way there. Let's go up there. There we go. Right, so one more. Okay, so we are looking at lipase, which is here. And lipase changes our fats to fatty acids and glycerol. Again, A's, lipase. Now the posh word for a fat is a lipid. That is why it's not called fatase, it's called lipase. Now let's have a look at where this happens. Made in the pancreas, and again released into the small intestine. So these are the three enzymes that you need to know. And if you need a definition of an enzyme, I'm going to pop it here. So enzyme is a biological catalyst. So you probably know that a catalyst speeds up a reaction. Well, that's exactly what an enzyme doing, is it's speeding up these large molecules, turning into small molecules. Okay, and weirdly, even though it breaks down proteins, an enzyme is made of protein. Some people get a little bit confused about that. So that's our enzyme. So if you need to pause the video and jot any of this down, that's absolutely fine. Do that now. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. This one likes to do funny things. Okay, so I said we talk about stomach acid. So stomach acid is produced in the stomach, weirdly. It is hydrochloric acid, HCl, and sometimes you get asked that, so make sure you know it's hydrochloric acid. It is around, this hydrochloric acid is around pH 2. It's very acidic. And it's produced in these glandular cells in the stomach. Now your stomach has a coating, so that acid shouldn't damage the inside of your stomach. Now a lot of people think acid breaks down the food. Actually, it doesn't have a role in breaking down the food as such, but it does have two jobs that you might get asked about. So it provides an acid pH for the enzymes to work. Now the enzyme in the stomach are proteases. You may be asked about one specific one, particularly if you're Edexcel, pepsin, okay? But it will tell you where it's made, etc. So it provides the correct pH for the enzymes to work, and it also kills bacteria from anything you eat, anything you swallow, drinks, etc. That's why we don't get food poisoning very often, but if it does get overwhelmed, then we possibly could. I'm sure a lot of you have had it over the years, perhaps, or you've had a stomach bug, which feels very similar. But generally, the bacteria from the food, like you've had a dodgy kebab or a dodgy burger, is killed by your stomach acid, so you don't get poorly. Right, there's one more chemical we need to look at, which is bile. Now, again, bile doesn't directly break down any food, not chemically, but it does do something physical, okay? So it's made in the liver and stored in the gallbladder. And we've got a posh word here, it emulsifies fats. Where are we? Here we go, emulsifies fats. Big word, you might have come across it in cookery. But emulsify, all that means is you've got a big lump of fat. So imagine a big lump of butter. Emulsification or emulsifies, it doesn't break it down chemically, but physically it just breaks it down into smaller droplets. Okay, now answer to every biology question. The smaller droplets have a larger surface area. And that means the enzymes have more surface area to work on. You imagine the poor enzymes trying to break down this big lump. They could only work on the outside. It would take an awful long time. Now, bile is also very alkaline. Okay, so it neutralizes the acid from the stomach. Because the two enzymes here in the small intestine are like it alkaline, so lipase and amylase like alkaline conditions. In the next video we'll look at what happens if they're out of their right conditions. Okay, so the role of bile emulsifies fats and neutralizes the acid from the stomach. Now, if you've ever had a stomach bug and you've really done a big heave and you get a green or an orangey liquid, that's usually bile. It's very bitter tasting because it's so alkaline. Hopefully you've never, but if you have, you'll know what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's have a little look at the question. This is a level 4-5, okay, and there will be higher ones on the next video in with the practical as well. So the diagram shows the digestive system. If you would like to pause and have a go yourself, please do. Okay, but let's get into it. So complete the following sentences about digestive enzymes. Amylase works in the somewhere where it is involved in the digestion of something to something. So you could either have mouth here, or you could have small intestine. Okay, either is fine. Digestion of starch, we could have carbohydrates to glucose. So well done, 3 nice marks there. Right, lipase works in the something where it is involved in the digestion of something to something. Lipase works in the small intestine where it is involved in the digestion of fats to fatty acids and glycerol. Right, which gland produces amylase? So you could have either the pancreas or salivary glands. Because remember, it's produced in 2 places. And then which gland produces lipase? Pancreas. That pancreas is very, very busy. Okay. It's not only does it produce enzymes for digestion, it also produces insulin and another glucagon for blood sugar. But at the moment, we're just focusing on digestion. Okay, so hopefully that's given you a little overview of the digestive system, an overview of enzymes. And then in the second video, which I'll be recording tomorrow, we're going to do the lock and key hypothesis. We're going to look at the enzyme required practicals. There are many, and a few more questions. Okay, so well done everyone, and I will see you on the next video.